and welcome to my channel, all the new people. My channel's been blown up again, courtesy of TikTokers, and now because of Instagrammers and even some Russian Facebook pages. Been posting some of my older videos. It's brought traffic to my channel, which I am a YouTube partner, so I do make money off of my channel, and that makes me so happy, and particularly whenever I get a new round of people who don't like me, who just love to come to my channel and go to video after video after video after video and tell me what a deadbeat dad I am. And today's topic is coaching. A lot of otherwise good parents who might be behind on child support get accused of this a lot. Some psychiatric type people, counselors, are actually educated in this area, what coaching is. If you've been through the crooked family courts and been bent over and they just jam it up your ass just a little further and just get a little more out. Coaching is a real thing. I'm not saying it doesn't exist. It's kind of like narcissism is a real thing. And narcissists almost never, if ever, they will never admit they are a narcissist. And most of them will not even say the word narcissist. And people who coach their kids in certain situations will probably more than likely never address that. I, on the other hand, am more than happy to come forth with just about every one of my faults, such as, drinking myself to sleep for 7 years, of which next week I will be 13 months sober. So I'm pretty proud of that. So today's topic is coaching. And the reason I bring it up, not because it's anything new that I've been accused of, but it's something that I hadn't seen in a while, and suddenly with this big explosion in my channel, where I go into depth on how to stay composed and how to use your camera as your friend and how to stay calm in tense situations and use your camera to show the truth and exercise your constitutional rights of freedom of speech and freedom of expression. This new round of people accusing me of coaching my kids, particularly Parker, comes from some of the comments are coming from the original Parker movie, but a lot of them are coming from Parker versus the Man. And if you've not seen Parker versus the Man, you've subscribed to my channel, you've probably watched the 14-year-old Parker movie, then I highly suggest you watch Parker versus the Man, where you get to see what really happens in real situations all the time. Our situation's not unique. What happened to me and my kids happens all the time. Kids get ripped away and passed around like nothing because it's hard to deal with. The parent who is having their child yanked from them is usually, as was I, scared to death to question anything, to even say anything, for fear of losing more time with the kids, having more money extracted from them from the Title 4D family courts, and possibly even getting fired. I got fired by my own father because I raised such hell. But anyway, coaching, particularly when it comes to my own video in Parker versus the Man. Caleb Everett, I've seen people like you, and you coached your son, and I've seen this, and I've got experience. Some people might say, I'm a doctor, I'm a psychologist, and I know it when I see it. You coached him. When what they're really saying is, I've got strong opinions about what I saw, and since the media never covers any of this sort of thing because they're all cowards and they're actually in bed with all this family court stuff and the crooked politicians, I don't see this very often. But now that you've done it, Caleb, now that you held up your camera and exercised your all this freedom you want to talk about, what I'm really trying to say is, I don't like what I saw. You actually taught your own son how to think for himself and question things, and even authority. He apparently even questions you sometime, and I just don't like that. And so what I'm going to do is I'm going to turn it around on you, Caleb Lever, and you coached him. Sorry, I tried to stay in character as long as I could. It's kind of hard because the ridiculousness is just unbelievable. And I haven't talked about this much over the years, but I'm going to talk about it today. Coaching. And I knew this was going to come up. And if you watch Parker versus the Man and that's what came to your mind is I coached him, well, you're sadly mistaken because I don't coach my kids. I teach them. If you were diligent enough to stay towards the very end where my friend Jordan Page's music or his song called The Message of Freedom plays, and I play a bunch of clips from me and the kids doing various things. One of those pictures is a picture of me and my son Parker, who was 14 at the time, and another man that you may or may not have heard of. Old school people have heard of him, but his name is Bobby Seale. Yes, the Bobby Seale. Some of you are going, Bobby Seale. Oh, what's he talking about? What? Oh, is that that black guy that he was in the picture with at the end? I don't know. What's he talking about? Yes, Bobby Seale is a black man, and Parker and I got to meet this outstanding person. Bobby Seale, for those who might need a little memory jar, is one of the original co-founders of the original Black Panther Party back in the 60s out there in California. Back when Parker lived with me after the 14-year-old Parker movie for about 2.5 months, one of the things that my son and I did together while the other children weren't allowed to be with me, is I did this thing called parenting. And I talked to my son, and I gave words of wisdom to the best of my ability. Well, I came across an advertisement that Bobby Seale was going to be speaking in Austin, Texas. And it was at a police accountability summit. I know. Some of you are like, oh, Caleb, just shut up. Oh, you're doing real good until you talk about that. Because I worship the police force and everything that they do. It's always good all the time. And it's just one bad apple every now and then. But anyways, I liked Bobby Seale. And like many of you, I was brainwashed as a child into believing a bunch of crap that history will say about such people as Mr. Seale. And what I found out that Bobby Seale was a man, he was tired of seeing his community being harassed and beaten and even killed. And so by police. And what Bobby did is he educated himself and he learned the laws and he exercised his rights. And it's just so funny how, unfortunately, I say funny, it's really not funny to me at all. It's unfortunate, but it's the way history portrays the Black Panther Party as, scoundrels. They're just angry. They're just going against blah, blah, blah. Just a bunch of crap. When you actually stop and listen to the man, like Parker and I did, literally the day before he was taken from me, there in that parking lot in the Ector County Courthouse on that hot August afternoon, Parker went and saw Bobby Seale with me. And I didn't know what he's going to think of it. I'm just trying my best to offer up all different points of view in life to help educate him at this time. So I took him, and Bobby was going on and on. Of course, I'm just eating this up. This is just golden. I'm literally got to watch history. A man who was really there. He's really in the trenches, and he really lost some of his own friends that got killed, and he talked about it in his speech. And if I can find it, it will be in the description, if I can find the link. But anyway, I looked over at Parker, and he was on the edge of his chair. Bobby went on for over an hour, maybe an hour and a half. And Parker was on the edge of his chair listening to every word this man was saying. And at the end, Mr. Seale announced that he's going to be signing autographs and shaking hands and, you know, that sort of thing. So I talked to some of the people that I knew running the Police Accountability Summit, and we got backstage, and Parker and I got to meet Mr. Bobby Seale. And if you don't believe me, all you got to do is just go watch Parker versus the Man to the very end, and you'll see that I included that picture against the advice of a lot of the people who claim to have my best interest, such as my own lawyers, some of my family. They knew where I'd been. They knew what had happened. And a lot of these people that were supposedly on my side, they didn't even want me to release the video at all, much less add the fact that Bobby Seale of the original Black Panther Party might have had an influence on my son. And so I can only assume that since Parker had just met Bobby Seale the day or day before, or 2 days before he got taken from me, I can only assume that was fresh on his mind, and he learned what civil disobedience was. And a lot of you are going to say, well, you didn't handle that right, Caleb. The law is the law, and you got to go with the law, do what the law says. And that's not always true. And if that's what you really think, then just go tell Rosa Parks that. Go tell Rosa Parks that she should have abided by the law, and she should not have taken that seat on the bus, because that's for colored folks in the back, and this is only for white folks. And my point is, sometimes the law is wrong. The law is not, or should not be, a measurement of morality, because just because it's law doesn't mean it's good. Coincidentally, most people universally agree that politicians are all crooks. Mostly. Even, everyone's got, their pet party or their pet, but generally speaking, they're all crooks. Very few of them are known as being upstanding characters with a good moral compass, like Ron Paul. Ron Paul is one of those people, one of those men whom I will truly weep when the man dies. I truly will. I love the man, and that's saying a lot, because I don't care for politicians or don't believe in gods necessarily. Certainly not the stories written down in books about them. But Ron Paul is an outstanding human being, and he was a Republican. But he did what he did. He had to run on that ticket. Anyway, I'm not going to make this about Dr. Paul. People who know this, if you know, you know. So anyway, back to coaching. I did not coach my son. It's almost like you wished I would have coached him. You wished I would have been like the mastermind director who paid off all these cops and paid off all these lawyers just to get YouTube videos and go out there and humiliate people. Because I know what Caleb Everett's like. I've met narcissists like Caleb Everett. He's the master manipulator who is an expert at parental alienation syndrome. PAS. P-A-S. That's the acronym they use. When I've been railing against parental alienation syndrome, or PA, some people call it just PA. I've been railing against PA for years and years. So anyway, to all the whiny little crybabies out there who what you're really trying to say, you say you don't like my coaching. What you're really saying is, I don't like what Caleb said because it makes sense and it makes my preconceived ideas about how life should be, it makes it irrelevant. And everything that I was taught is now a lie. If I believe what I see with my own eyes in Caleb's videos, that what he did was actually civil disobedience, that it goes against everything in my life, against everything I was taught in my life, means nothing to me. Well, welcome to reality. That's where I was all those years ago. I was raised in the Republican Party. I was raised in the Baptist Church. I was raised that Rush Limbaugh was God, and I really believed that crap. It was pounded into me over and over and over. That is not to say that I'm a supporter of dear leader up in the White House right now, the guy that seem to remember who he is or what he said previously, and talks about leg hairs and sniffs little cheerings. It's just creepy, gross. So, I'm not defending either of the two major parties. Hell, you've reached the point I don't even defend the Libertarian Party anymore. So, I did not coach my son as badly as you would love to believe that. I was raised just like that, to where I came to the realization on that very day, by the way, I might add, that the Republican Party wasn't on my side. God and all his leaders apparently didn't give a crap, because none of them showed up at that court hearing. They did later, 4 years later, with Blaine, if you want to check out the Blaine series. But nobody from the church and all the God stuff people, they didn't show up at all to record what happened, didn't call to give condolences. My mother was there, and my sister was there. And even then, it got too much for them. And ever since I disowned my father, I've tried to reach out to Mom and Hillary, but that's another topic, and I probably shouldn't even go into it, but I hadn't talked to them either. So, I did not coach my son. I taught him. I made it very clear that the world is full of liars. The world is full of manipulators. The world will lie to you and spit in your face. So, my answer to that is question everything. And one of my answers back then was look at the old school, the old guys that have really been out there, been in the trenches, such as Bobby Seale. They've got some insight. They've lost dearly. People they love, ideas they love. They've lost their livelihoods in some cases. But anyway, I think that about covers today's topic of the people who get on my channel and just cannot stand me. Yeah, I've got some more topics, but I'm going to save them for later. I'm in my little sailboat right now, and I woke up before the butt crack of dawn, and I got my, I'm working on making a video about it, but has nothing to do with family court. I installed a wind generator. Bought it off Amazon and used my bike to go back and forth across town to haul all these like 9-foot pipes on my bike. It was so cool because I had all flagged off and didn't drive a car at all. So anyway, it was fun, and I'm working on that. You all know how my editing skills are. They're not very good, and because I don't hardly edit anything that I put on there. That's another thing I don't quite get, is how I can be accused of giving one side of the story, not the other. And all I do is like hold the camera. What do you people want me to do? Like set up a bunch of other cameras before all this happens so you get different angles? Or I don't know how to give another side of the story. It's all I've got. I don't generally I don't edit anything. I just, whatever I capture back in those days, that's what got put on the air. You know, kind of like my own phone number getting out, among other things. So anyway, y'all have a wonderful day, and see you on the flip side. Bye. There's a warning sign, like a blazing sun. You don't want to see because you're having fun. But those who control all the information celebrate and lie to the people to keep them watching. And the walls come crashing down as the war at home reaches your town. You have no choice, it's safe and clean. We all submit to the war machine. Consequence be damned. Send a call for a brawl in a foreign land. We slide their advantage through the door, getting rich off the blood of the fighting poor. Well, that's your democracy, one big hypocrisy. You want me to give my life for country. So sacrifice yourself today, and don't think about getting in their way. Camouflaged in black and green, one more gear in the war machine.
The system's right,